Hi, good evening, and welcome to the Minority Report. This week's episode and edition consistently continues to portray and stand for that which the mandate of the Office of the Minority Leader is, and by extension, the People's National Movement. I'm Marlon David, your host this evening, and I indeed look forward to our discussions today. We would have begun a round of discussions that have not only been exciting, but to say the least, have been very educational, as many members of the public have indeed chimed in on those discussions and have been messaging and sending comments and so on, indicating that there's so much that is being opened up to them now that they continue to look forward to this program every single Tuesday evening. And I must indeed say, before doing the necessaries, that I always am filled with gratitude when I get these types of messages. And it's always a pleasure to actually get here and come into your homes to share this time between 8 and 9:30 with you and your family. For those of you who are not yet logged on, you have the option of logging into the Tobago Updates website or the Tobago Updates YouTube channel, or the most frequently used platform, that being the Facebook page. And many of you choose that option because it gives you the opportunity to interact with us, to share your comments, to get in on the live, and just to be an active part of the discussion. I make no bones each week to say to you and encourage you to let's be mindful of our comments, of our statements, of the type of conversation that we carry, as the Minority Report is indeed a family-oriented program, because many families have indicated that they allow their children to sit and listen to the program. As many at times we've said, there is also a great element of education that we try to implement in the program. So it's not just about the politics and identifying challenges and shortcomings, but it's also about us learning. It's also about us gaining an understanding, a greater knowledge of the workings of the Tobago House of Assembly, and to assist in creating necessary expectations that we should all have from anyone that sits in the seat. If you have a message that you want to send to us this evening, probably a video, probably a photograph, something maybe of concern within your community or even with you as an individual, and you want to drop us a line, you want us to be able to ventilate these particular issues, you can do so on 284-6597. That is 284-6597. And that is our WhatsApp number. This evening, we are also going to be giving persons the opportunity to call us, because we are going to be doing a particular segment where we're going to open up the lines a bit, and folks can have the opportunity to call and also offer your comments on the particular issue. And so we want to encourage you, stay by your phone, take your pen, get a pencil, write this number down, 284-6597, and when that time comes, we are indeed going to open up the lines and allow you, the listening and viewing audience, to give us a call so that you can be an active part of the discussion. You know, folks, I really want to take the opportunity, and this is something I do every week, to thank you for making Tobago Updates Minority Report the #1 viewed current affairs program on this particular network. I know the director is always excited when we get here, because all week persons are asking the question, is the Minority Report going to be on tonight? And I can say without fear of contradiction that this question has not only come from right here in Tobago or our neighbors in Trinidad, but even throughout the islands. There are persons who would log on to the platform, and let me take the opportunity right now to say hello and good evening to the diaspora. Members of the diaspora have become avid listeners and viewers of the Minority Report, so much so that when we took that short break we would have received a multitude of phone calls from members of the diaspora asking us when would be the restart of the Minority Report. Again, it speaks volumes to the fact that this is the program that keeps us informed with the right information, with the accurate information, with the correct information. And so I really want to thank you guys for making us the #1 viewed program. And I want to encourage you to continue looking or viewing on the Tobago Updates Network. And having said that, I want to inform those of you who may be subscribers to the AMPLIA cable network, you can turn your television to channel 102. Yes, channel 102. And you can view us live on your television in the comfort of your living room. And there are some persons who actually sent photos and said that the pictures of their family all sitting around in the living room, neighbors coming across just to participate in the program. I want to also thank all the well-wishers. People meet us on the street, in the supermarkets, and really give words of encouragement to keep up the work that we've been doing here, going on almost 3 years. And, persons have all said that the program has been so informative and has always equipped them with the necessary information that they need to make their informed decisions, and so that they can also participate in conversations when that time arises. And so I am going to say it openly, thank you for continuing to log on each week, whether you're coming into the live, as some persons do, or you're just logging in and looking at it from the surface, as most persons do. I want to say thank you for your support. Thank you for your words of encouragement. Thank you, most importantly, for your prayers. And we do intend to continue doing what we have been doing for the past almost 3 years to keep you, the public, informed. This evening, I really want to get into an aspect of the program. We made a bit of changes today, as we would have had the unfortunate incident and news on the passing of one of the stalwarts of not just the People's National Movement or the Tobago Council, but of Tobago, Miss Cynthia Alfred. We received news earlier on today of her passing, and we do in fact send condolences out to her family, relatives, close friends, and her family right here at the People's National Movement, both in Tobago and in Trinidad. Miss Alfred was indeed an inspiration and a source of a true spirit in the way that she carried herself and executed her duties. You know, this evening we are going to spend a little time honoring the memory of Miss Alfred and taking a look at some of the things that she would have contributed in a great sense and a great part to the development of the island of Tobago. Many persons would have been touched deeply by her contributions, and you know, we really want to take a little time. So we're going to be introducing our guest in studio, who is going to be logging in shortly as we go into that segment. But before we do that, we're going to take a little break, pay some bills. I want to encourage you to share the live, share the live, share the live. Let's all contribute meaningfully in this segment as we honor the memory of Miss Cynthia Alfred. We'll be right back.
Runaway, Wednesday, October 16th at the iconic Pigeon Point Beach from 12 noon to 7 p.m. with the All-Stars Band featuring College Boy Jesse
Who want to drink rum with me? Everybody come there.
and Ding Dong.
I wanna Ramadan and drink something and break away.
Guest artist Mama Nappy
Hey you, can you have a hold on me what you want me to
and Waddings. Your DJ's Mighty Crush and Selected 3D. Your MC, Snoopy. This is a $600 premium all-inclusive event. Get your tickets now at Sands Fashion, D Coliseum Mall, Jade Monkey, Lust Restaurant and Lounge, Gold City Mall, Gonzalez One Stop Shop Scarborough, and Dinkers Beauty Supply Sport Mall. The after party is at Jade Monkey Bar and Grill. For more info, call 483-2264, 742-1674, or 731-5916. Runaway, Wednesday, October 16th at the iconic Pigeon Point Beach, Tobago.
Blue food came from dasheen. Locally, we look at dasheen, which when you boil it, you get a blue coloration.
Are you ready for Tobago Blue Food Festival 2024? Join us on October 20th for an unforgettable celebration of Tobago's unique cuisine. Enjoy live cooking demonstrations, local music, and cultural performances throughout the day. This festival has something for every palate. It's all happening October 20th in Bloody Bay. Visit TobagoFestivalsCommission.com for more info and make sure you're part of this one-of-a-kind culinary event.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tobago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tobago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tobago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tobago's at your service.
I don't give a they follow me money down as long as one on my head. They say too much, one thing will kill you, so what everybody kinda dead. Don't knock it until you try it. Rum sweet, rum sweet.
And folks, we are back in studio this evening, and we are taking a little time to remember Miss Cynthia Alfred. And joining us this evening, I couldn't think of any better person to come in and share in those discussions than the gentleman that I'm going to introduce to us this evening, former chairman of the Tobago Council, former member of Parliament for Tobago West, a real, as we call him, the walking encyclopedia of the party, Mr. Stanford Callender. Good evening, sir.
Well, good evening, Myron. Thanks for having me on this very sad moment.
It is indeed a moment of sadness. I want to say welcome to the Minority Report. It is indeed an honor to have you on with us, given the circumstances, but nonetheless, whilst we mourn the passing of Miss Alfred, I think there is so much as well for us to celebrate, and having you this evening, I want to kick it off a bit by us gaining an understanding of who was Cynthia Alfred. How did she enter the political arena and so on? I know that you would definitely take us through the history of this tremendous woman.
Yeah, well, before I get there, I want to begin by taking the opportunity to extend my deepest condolences to the relatives and friends of the late Cynthia Alfred. You know, interestingly, Mylan, I spoke to Miss Alfred on Wednesday, the 2nd of October. As a matter of fact, she's the one who called me. It was about 5:45. She didn't get me because I wasn't close to the phone. So I returned the call. And she said, Stanford, you know, which she normally would say it, I said, yes, Cynthia, that's how I call her. She said, I wanted to call you personally to congratulate you on being a recipient of the national award. And she started telling me how she think I deserve it, and she's so proud of me. And so she went on to congratulate me on receiving this national award. Marlon, I have known Cynthia Alfred for over 55 years, you know, since I was a little boy.
Wow.
Yeah, the first time I met her, the Mount Irving Bay Hotel was just about completed, and they introduced a community activity, Best Kept Village. So all the villages close to Mount Irving would participate. And there was the awards ceremony up at the Black Rock Government Primary School. And there was a cultural program, and I sang a calypso that was done by Funny, a dumb calypsonian by the name of Dum Dum, was singing in a calypso tent for a bottle of rum. Cynthia Alfred, as a young cultural officer, was there. And she was so impressed. So she came and chatted with me and stuff. And our friendship started way back then. And through her initiative and that of Bailey Fredericks, I started doing some performances at the Buku Folk Theatre. So I knew Cynthia long before I got involved in politics and she got involved in politics. And when I got involved in politics and contested the then Tobago County Council election in 1977, and the PNM won that election after the PNM's defeat in 1976 at the general elections, Cynthia was elated because it was myself and Raphael Alfred who represented Mount St. George. We were young people in the county council at the time. Raphael was a little older than I was. And then our political acquaintances became close because Cynthia was already in the bosom of the party as one of the stalwarts of the constituency of Tobago East. And as I developed into the politics, Cynthia was right there. We attended general council meetings for years. And then I was privy to see Cynthia screened to be a candidate in the Tobago House of Assembly elections. So I too was elated when she won, and we know that she was not only an assemblyman, but she served as deputy chief secretary.
Yeah.
She also served as a senator. So we always exchange ideas, and because of her cultural exploits, Cynthia did a number of production, two of which I was part of her production team. As an actor, I sang in one of them and stuff like that. And you know, interestingly, in the conversation she had with me on Wednesday the 2nd, which lasted for between half an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
She told me she was working on a production to be released by the end of the year or early next year.
Wow.
We spoke about our little health challenges. I told her, well, you know, I did a major surgery last year, and she said, well, she wasn't too well. And when they took her from her home, take her to the hospital, she didn't know what was happening, but thank God she's back up and moving. Until Larry Paul called me a few days ago and said, Cynthia is back in the hospital, she's in ICU. And from I heard that, I became very concerned. So our relationship spans decades in this political thing. Cynthia, in 1984, during George Chambers' tenure as Prime Minister, there was a convention, the PNM had a convention in Signal Hill. And Cynthia was one of the frontline delegates of that convention. And we came up with something that was called the Signal Hill Accord. And when we made the move in the party to create the Tobago Council of the PNM, that most significant change to the party's constitution, Cynthia Alfred was a member of the General Council. So it was a team of us that went to make our case before the General Council. You know, and I always use this as a joke, you know, the then political leader, Mr. Manning, said to us downstairs before we went upstairs that will happen over his dead body. Because, you know, in some organizations, people who like to relinquish authority and so we went upstairs and the General Council began the debate on the matter. And we, the Tobago representatives, Cynthia, Rennie, myself, and Orville London, started to make the case. And Mr. Manning, the clever politician that he was, he recognized that it was not a case he could have won. So Mr. Manning joined the debate. And when Mr. Manning was finished his contribution, you would have sworn the idea was his. So, you know, Cynthia and I, we always joke on that matter, but Cynthia has been someone who has been in the trenches, in the battles. I don't know how many people know that one year, you know, battles in Tobago, A.N.R. Robinson took Cynthia Alfred to court. The matter dragged on for some years before it eventually petered out, and Cynthia decided to stand firm. She wasn't backing down because she did nothing wrong. Because, you know, we had put up a formidable challenge to Robinson that year, and Cynthia was in the forefront of it. So Cynthia has been through many battles of the PNM, so she would have witnessed and participated in the transition of the PNM from what it was then to what it is today. And as Larry said to me when he told me Cynthia is in the hospital, you know, and he said to me Cynthia wasn't at our last council meeting.
Yes.
And making her contributions as usual. You know, so yeah, she has been a warrior, a long-standing warrior of this organization. And we will surely miss her insightfulness, her wisdom, you know, everything. I mean, it's really a sad moment because besides being colleagues and members of the PNM, we were personal friends. As I told you, Cynthia became one of my cultural mentors from very, very early. Very, very early. So it's a sad time.
Mr. Callender, you mentioned there that Mr. Paul would have said to you that she was at the last meeting, and that is in fact so. And one of the things I remember, one of the contributions that Ms. Alfred made was with respect to, she was giving a sort of progression of how Tobago's autonomy has been developing over a number of years, and then making a strong claim for continuing to support the autonomy bill presently, and then the drive towards autonomy. Now, you gave a very clear example there of Ms. Alfred's ability to pioneer for greater responsibility and greater authority, with the example you gave of her part that she played, or the role that she played in the Tobago Council. One of the things that she spoke strongly about was that there's never perfection. You won't ever get perfection, but what you get, you can take it and move forward with it. Now, agreed. I know you would have also seen and experienced her as Secretary of Community Development and Culture in Tobago. Many persons in the party who don't understand the history or probably don't know the history of Miss Alfred may have had the opportunity to see her function in the community development. What are some of the things that you remember as the secretary of that division, Miss Alfred may have pioneered? I know she was definitely passionate about culture and so on.
She was passionate about culture. As a young man, again, I led my community in the Prime Minister Best Village Trophy competition. And Cynthia was always involved. She used to come to the village to see our rehearsals and things like that. As I said, she was one of my cultural gurus. You know, she always used to be amazed at some of the things I do and some of the things I said. And she was always used to say to me, you know, you are so talented. Lots of people don't know how talented you are. She was involved in drama, as I said, because I did some drama with her. You know, due to the Best Village, I did a summer school in UE, where I did stage management, drama, stage productions, and stuff like that. In the early stages of Heritage, Cynthia followed Blackrock relentlessly. She never missed a Blackrock show because she always felt that Blackrock would always have something good to offer, you know. So she was really a cultural icon. She laid the foundation for most people today who are involved in culture. She gave you the necessary encouragement and advice. You know, very articulate. You know, I always used to be referred to as the drama queen because she spoke the Queen's English when it became necessary for her to do so. So she was really involved in drama and the creative arts, you know, and I fashioned I learned a lot from, you know, and I think she was one of the better cultural officers that served Tobago over the years. She was an outstanding cultural officer.
I like the progression of the discussion. We are definitely gaining a lot more appreciation for Miss Alfred. I myself would have had her as a guest on the program 2 years ago that was the Independence Day program, and she would have brought such volume, having been around when Independence Day was proclaimed. You know, and she really, really went a lot into it. Miss Alfred was the first female Deputy Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly. This came at a time where politics was more or less a very much male-dominated environment. And for such a little, in terms of stature, woman to now be appointed to a position such as this, I know it would have come with a number of challenges. What do you remember about Miss Alfred's leadership role in terms of not just navigating as the Deputy Chief Secretary, but being a female in this male-dominated environment and having that to shoulder that responsibility to cut a path for many others who we've seen, Miss Tracy Davidson Celestine come and you know, function in the same capacity, and other female politicians in Tobago. What role do you think she really played, and how was her leadership style at that time?
Well, I don't know if you recall, the PNM won the THA elections in 2001.
Yeah.
But in 2000, I won the Tobago West seat for the first time for after a long, long time. So I was in and out of Tobago, back and forth. But I maintained a close working relationship with the THA, because I will tell you, in 2000, because when I won my seat, the PNM was in opposition. So in 2001, it was 1818. And then Prime Minister Mr. Manning, offered me a parliamentary secretary's position. And as he said that to me, I realized that it meant that I would have had to be posted in Trinidad. It was not something I was excited about because as a little student of politics, I knew 1818 meant that we would be going back to the polls very soon.
Yeah.
So I said, boss, I want to thank you very much, but 1818 tells me we're going back to the polls soon. And I'd rather stay in Tobago and work with the Tobago House of Assembly and close my back door as a politician. So he tried to justify, well, he come from South and you didn't from Tobago. I said, boss, in this thing, there are some of us who likes service and some likes office. I am service oriented. I want to stay in Tobago and work with the Tobago House of Assembly and keep my back door closed. He called Mr. London and Mr. London tell him he agreed with me. So then he called me back and said, what if I just make you Minister of State and just leave you in Tobago? I said, boss, that suits me fine. So I walked to the THE because one of the things I said to them, their concerns are my concern because we all are representative of the people of Tobago. So it was those kind of dialogue and conversation I would have with all of them. But I knew that Cynthia performed well as Deputy Chief Secretary. There's no question about her ability because, she was a senior public servant.
Yeah.
And one of the things about our politicians around that time, most of them were experienced in the administration of this island. So you talk about Cynthia, you talk about Sandy, you talk about Mr. Wilson, you know what I mean? You're talking about a wealth of experience and knowledge. So Cynthia performed as expected. When the decision was made to make her the Deputy Chief Secretary, she lived up to the expectation.
Exactly. Indeed, as we, everything that we've been hearing this evening, and I really want to put viewers on cue as well. The lines are going to be open so that you can also join the conversation. You can offer your condolences. You can probably share a bit of an experience that you would have had with Miss Alfred as well as a party member and so on, or even as an employee of the division. And Mr. Callender, I always, since hearing the news today, I kept reflecting on every time I had a conversation with Miss Alfred, regardless of whether it was in the office, whether it was over the phone, or even right in Market Square, sometimes you would see her. And she always had a very encouraging persona. Even if she's correcting you about something or saying something that she feels that you're doing that she don't like, her persona was always one that when she was finished, you felt encouraged and you really wanted to do better and to, just when you see her the next time, to hear her say, yes, that is what it is I spoke to you about. And from the very word go, when I remember calling her to invite her on the program, and I felt that, she may have put up a little resistance. And the minute that I asked her, she said, sure, not a problem. What is it you want to discuss? What you want me to share on? And, she was always that individual who, regardless of what it was, she was willing to give a helping hand. She was willing to participate. She was willing to give advice. And I think that aspect of her is the aspect that I valued the most in my interactions with her. She always had a solid word of advice to give to you.
Yeah. Although she was a member of the Tobago East constituency, and I came out of the West, but there were some women in my early days in the politics, both in the West and in the East. But in the East, Cynthia Alfred stood out. And in the West, you had people like Lydia Paul, Beatrice Julian. Violet Peterkin. With those ladies supporting you, you can do no wrong. You can do no wrong in their sight. You know, I was privileged to be supported by a group of people in the early days of my political existence. So Cynthia Alfred reminds me so much about Lydia Paul, as Larry Paul's mother. She was also an officer in community development. Coincidentally, she was from my same village. So there was a greater nexus. But she and Cynthia, she in community development and Cynthia in culture, those were the people who helped mold my community and cultural exploits. Yeah, I had all encouragement and advice from Cynthia.
Definitely making an impact there.
Yeah.
And I want to read some of the comments coming in. Miss Alfred had a beautiful, calm, peaceful disposition whenever I sat around her company, neatly attired, and the cutest smile for her senior years. A very graceful, classy woman. She will be missed indeed. And that is from the page Tobago Wake Up.
Yeah, she was truly a woman of class. There was no two ways about that. Truly a woman of class.
We have another comment. Miss Alfred will surely be missed as well for her contributions. A number of persons starting to also comment. I want to encourage persons, if you want, you can also call 284-6597. That's 284-6597. As we continue to remember Miss Cynthia Alfred, my guest on the live as well, Mr. Stanford Callender. And we're going to be taking a very short break, pay a couple bills, and stay logged on, continue to share the live. And when we get back, we continue remembering Miss Cynthia Alfred. We'll be right back.
Your tasty local dishes for breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti served with chokers, buljoil and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie and rice in various styles. Meat served in a variety of flavors, garden salads and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your taste buds. So call us today to order, as we are here to accommodate your busy schedules or if you are having a cooking day off.
Are you an architect or draftsman looking to upgrade your skills, or a beginner eager to master essential tools? ReCAD Labs has the solution. Our Revit Architecture Fundamental Tobago course is designed to boost your skills and confidence. Running from October 6th to November 17th, this course includes a live session on November 17th for hands-on learning. Learn from experts in our virtual classroom and stay ahead in the world of architecture. Visit recadlabs.com to enroll now and follow us on social media for updates.
Tell them I can't do even bother calling me. Tell them I can't. I said tell them I can't do even bother calling me. Tell them.
Attention soldiers, are you ready for the ultimate mission for Tobago Carnival? It's time to gear up for Army-Fed Operation Rocks Glow.
I feel like I'm running tongue again. No place like home.
We're taking the vibes out to the countryside, where a premier cast of live entertainment will be pumping all night long. Army Fat Operation Rocks Glow. Join us on Thursday, 24th October at the Sid Grace Sporting Complex, Roxborough, for the high-energy Wear White Soca Bashment Rocks Glow. Army Fed Tobago. Operation Rocks Glow.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
We are back in studio this evening as we continue to wind down on our segment, remembering Miss Cynthia Alfred. Joining me on the virtual link, we have Mr. Stanford Callender, who has been presenting us with quite an extensive overview of his interaction with Miss Alfred throughout the politics, but more so over a span of 55 years of friendship. Joining me in studio as well this evening and joining the conversation is no stranger to the Minority Report, Mr. Quy Dein, former Secretary of the Division of Works. Good evening, Quy. How are you going?
Good evening, Maryland. Good evening, Mr. Callender, the venerable Mr. Callender.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening to the viewing audience. You know, Maryland, when I saw that you had Mr. Callender on, I said, well, we should clear the calendar, so to speak. There should be no other guests and allow Mr. Callender to really, and you know, always kudos and congratulations, of course, to Mr. Callender, who also just received a national award. But of course, in the moment, it's always good to still hear from the political wisdom and history from Mr. Callender, the walking library. You know, Maryland, I just wanted to add my piece very quickly. It was probably just over 2 weeks ago, actually. I was asked by the chairman, Mr. Paul, to make a presentation to the Tobago Council on the autonomy bills.
Yeah.
And there was Cynthia Alfred in all her glory, decked off as always, fully present, fully well dressed, as always, well presented. And what was very good for me as well, although I was the presenter, she was extremely willing, extremely articulate in sharing her experience in the build-up to Act 37 of 1980. And some people might play it down, but she also played a role in that first bill, and she was there. And I don't know if Mr. Callender touched on it a little bit as well, but she was present in the house even when the late A.N.R. Robinson left the house. She was one of the people, along with Mr. Murray, that remained in Parliament. So it's just so much information, always willing, always pleasant. She visited me many times while I served as secretary to offer words of advice, to help people. She never stopped trying to help people.
Yeah.
Knocking on doors where she could knock on doors, smiling, using her charm. That was ever present. She was always equipped and dressed with her charm, and she will be sorely missed. I'm extremely thankful when I was reflecting just this evening, I said, Lord, teach us a number of days, because, if she knew she had 2 weeks left, I'm pretty sure she would still be at the Tobago Council and still be sharing the information and sharing her wisdom. So even if she knew she had just about 2 weeks left, I don't know that she would have done it differently. And I must say condolences to her family, loved ones, all those whose lives she has touched. Condolences to the PNM family. May her soul rest in eternal peace.
Mr. Callender, we are about to wind down this segment, but we want to be able to come out of this segment with your words of encouragement, your words of remembrance of Miss Alfred, a number of lives that she was able to touch, not just in terms of individuals, but being a policymaker in Tobago, being a policymaker as well, or a guardian in the Senate of Trinidad and Tobago. One can definitely say that she would have served this nation well, and truly her legacy of service to the people and to the government definitely will live on. Your closing remarks, Mr. Callender.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if you know that she was always proud when she spoke about her skills in fencing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She always proudly boasts about that, because I think she did her drama and cultural exploits in England.
Okay.
And so when she came back, she was always proud of that. She speak to tell you that. But I think Cynthia has left a legacy. Yes. And she has been a trailblazer for women in particular in this party. She has been a trailblazer. I said when I got involved in politics between 1976 and 1977, Cynthia was already there.
Wow.
And I say it was people like Cynthia that I got my encouragement from all the time. And I said I knew her before more on the cultural side. So I have a tremendous respect for her as a cultural officer and someone who laid the foundation for some of our major organizations, cultural groups that is in Tobago. As I said, when we spoke on Wednesday, the 2nd of October, she was telling me that she was working on a production, because I said I acted in about 2 of Cynthia's productions. Acted in one, sang and acted in another, and she said she was working on this production, which she hoped to complete by the end of the year. So as Kwesi said, if she had known that she was not going to be here today, she might have continued the conversation with me so as to be able to complete the script.
Yes.
But Cynthia has been a role model for young women, and she has been one of the pioneers of the PNM's transition in Tobago. Because Cynthia was there during the bad days, So Cynthia experienced the bad days, the terrible days of the PNM experience, and she enjoyed the good days. So I was pretty happy when she was made the Deputy Chief Secretary, because I know that because of her experience, as I indicated to you earlier, Marilyn, most of our assemblymen in that period had experience in leadership or in governance on this island. Whether it was Hilton Sandy, Neil Wilson, Cynthia, Alfred, there were a lot of experience among those people, and Cynthia stood out as one of the champions, whether she was in the Senate, whether she was at General Council, whether she was at the annual convention of the party. Cynthia made her voice heard. And as Kwesi talked about her role in the build-up of Act 37 of 1980, we had a special convention in Tobago. I assure you have been hearing the phrase Tobago Island Council. Cynthia actually had a draft that speak to a Tobago Island Council before Act 37 of 1980 came into being, Because you must remember that when the PNM lost the both seats in 1976. It was against the backdrop of internal self-government, you know, and we were very mindful. So in 1977, we campaigned, the PNM's main campaign is that the DAC at the time wanted to separate Trinidad from Tobago. So we struck fear in people's minds and their hearts about this separation strategy. And it worked because after being defeated in 1976, we came back and controlled the Tobago County Council in 1977. And Cynthia Alfred, people like Cynthia Alfred, was one of the leaders in the forefront of that campaign. Yeah, so she will be surely missed. She has left a mark in the political landscape of this island called Tobago.
Yeah.
And she has left a mark in the Senate of the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. Cynthia was a true patriot of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and she will be surely missed by all of us in the PNM and on this island of Tobago. May her soul rest in peace.
Thank you very much, Mr. Callender, for your words of recognition, but also your words of educating, as usual, many of us who may not have been very familiar with all of Miss Alfred's contributions, both in the legislative body and even as a servant of the people in community development. Another comment coming in there, rest in peace, Miss Alfred. She was truly iconic in every regard. You know, so Mr. Callender, thanks for logging on with us this evening. I trust that I will be able to have you sometime in the very near future again, just to
with Chris's permission, of course. With Chris's permission.
Just to share with us.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for being with us this evening. Have a wonderful night.
All right, bye-bye.
We see again, as always, Stanford Callender, always delivering, as per expectations, quite a lot of information he would have shared with us this evening in terms of us remembering Miss Alfred. As we shift the program a bit, last week, coming out of some of our discussions, we also indicated to our viewers that we would delve a bit deeper this week into remembering some of the atrocities that we would have seen occur over the last 3 years. So we're going to take a very short break. And when we get back, folks, we're going to look into some of those discussions as we continue the conversation about the budget and spend in Tobago. We'll be right back.
Tobago Carnival is just around the corner, and Bethel Credit Union has you covered. Whether you're prepping for costumes, parties, giveaways, or a staycation, it's all within your reach with our Carnival loan sale. For as little as $900 a month, yes, $900 a month, you can get the funds you need to make this Carnival season unforgettable. At Bethel Credit Union, we're here to make your celebration dreams a reality. Visit us today or call 639-8226 for more information. Normal lending criteria applies, because we see you at BCU.
Good morning, good morning,
say tell them I can't do even bother calling me. Tell them I can't. I say tell them I can't do even bother calling me. Tell them.
And folks, welcome back to the Minority Report. With me in studio, I have, again, I have to start calling you the co-host, the new co-host, Quy Dein. And Quy, we had some discussions last week where we have been following the conversation coming out of the budget presentation by the Minister of Finance. And one of the things that we started looking at, first out of the blocks, is this administration's attempt to convince Tobago that their cry for more is actually necessary and to show that the central government is really not taking Tobago seriously. But the questions have begun to be asked. The 7.5 billion over the last 2 years and some months, where has that been spent? Where is the accountability for that? And last week we would have said, coming out of the macro conversation, we're going to start drilling down, because the title on today's episode is Remembering. And so we would have had our first segment, but we also are going to go into the second segment where we remember some of the spend, some of the projects that we would have seen this administration go right into. And the fact that here we are almost 3 years later and still no accountability, no completion, and so on. And I'm glad that you are in set with us this evening, because a lot of what we are going to be talking about is right down your alley, where you sat in that seat in infrastructure. So Quy, we saw first of all the Shervan-Storby Local Connector Road and Roundabout project. I want to start with there, and we're going to go back. I know you would have had quite a lot that could have been said, and I'm glad the director would have brought this up. Many persons keep calling it the road to nowhere, as quote-unquote $65 million spend on a project that the central government was going to attach to the airport development project. And that road would have been gifted to Tobago and the tourism industry. How?
So, you know, I just want to take my point of departure from what Mr. Callender spoke to, actually, where he remembered the experience of many of the PNM assemblymen, secretaries, and so on. And, you know, I heard the pride in his voice.
Yeah.
I heard that he was satisfied. I heard that it was a time worth remembering. And I feel like, and this was 20 years ago, more than 20 years we're looking back. And I suspect if Tobagonians are to look back in 20 years from today, it will not be with that type of pride, satisfaction, a sense of almost victory and that Mr. Callender had. I feel, because even now, as you know, yesterday I was walking in my community, even now people are cringing at the memory of some of these projects.
Yeah.
And and I say cringe because I don't know, you know, young people say it, and I don't know that there's a more appropriate term. I probably am most on point at this time, but it's so cringe, as they say, to look at what passed for infrastructural development, and it goes back to a type of politics, that the standpipe politics, where you saw the UNC open a standpipe and cut a ribbon. There was a sign unveiled at THTI, you cut a ribbon and you had a ceremony. We have a road to nowhere literally to nowhere, and a roundabout of confusion. As some people say, a wrongabout.
A wrongabout.
And if you, even if you were to take all of these things away, the absolute absence of any level of accountability, we don't know to this day. All right, it's design, build, finance, no problem. What's the rate of interest we're looking at? What's the payback? What's the payback time? And I suspect that our grandchildren, Maryland, are going to be paying for this still. Because if on the Little Smithfield Connector Road, we saw astronomical asphalt prices, almost twice what the P&M administration was paying. Could you imagine on this project that was not well planned, because there was, although we were in conversation with central government to have this road, the Friendship Connector Road, as part of the overall airport project, a conceptual design was done in partnership with the Tobago House of Assembly, was done by Pure in partnership with the Tobago House of Assembly. They picked it up because I left it in the office, it was there. They picked it up and said, yes, let's run with this. And instead of this road, the cost of this road being enveloped and absorbed under the overall airport project, the scarce resources that they're crying about, they have now spent on a road that gets nowhere. And it's because in their haste, they did not do a proper survey, no proper survey designs, no proper topographical surveys. They did not establish the boundaries of the road. They did not establish the right of way. They established none of these things. And it's a similar thing that happened with the Smithfield Connector Road. But that was a smaller road, and they got away with encroaching on some people's lands. They got away with going in on some people's land. They didn't get a big hullabaloo. So they felt that, okay, well, we did it once, we could do it again. And of course, they were met with staunch resistance from, mind you, within the assembly itself. Because in the first place, the public was made aware when the conservator of forests was the complainant to the EMA about the road not having any approvals. Could you imagine for a senior public servant in the THA to get to that place, how many times he would have written, called, sent messages, beseech, begged even some people to say, do the right thing before we got to it. So it's a travesty in so many ways. And of course, they would love to say that it's a P&M plot. Okay, no. And then they didn't establish the right of way. The hearings took them to court. The decision upheld. You can't go through the property. You can't just go and push down somebody's property just like that. Then after they boast about a hotel at Kilgwin Estate, you go on now and put the road through, attempting to go through the land, the very land for the hotel that you spoke about. And again, nothing to do with the P&M, but they're blaming the P&M. Going to court, and now the road is stopped. For anybody who is doubting me, I challenge you, go into by where MIC is there, where the hardware store burned down, Dave and Brothers were burned down, where 12 Tribe used to be, some people might remember, drive in there and see for yourself that the road does not even connect and has no way at present of connecting to the Tobago local road. And it means then that we have wasted. So we have two roundabouts and a road that goes, literally, we are going in circles, wasting time. And that could have been $70 or $100 million that could have been spent on housing, that could have been spent on school repairs, that could have been spent in the Scarborough Secondary School. I don't know how many people have gone there recently to see the sign, the area where the sun was turned. And there was a big ceremony again, much ado about nothing. And then you said, well, you turn this and then say, well, you're going to central government for the money.
For the money.
So that money, the same way they could have done the design, build, finance for the road, they could have chosen to do design, build, finance for the Scarborough Secondary School, which would have been a way better use of the funds than a vanity project to say, yes, I built a road, and yes, we named some roundabouts after some people, and no problem, we could name roads, because I hear they have plans to change the name of roads, but that we'll get into that another time. You can name whatever road or roundabout or wall or blade of grass after anybody that you think is deserving, but at least do quality work, at least give Tobagonians value for money. And so again, people will look back at this and cringe that the road is falling apart without being used. No serious wear and tear, no serious vehicular traffic. The road is falling apart, and you have to drive halfway down into Cove to enter the road, and then come right back out at Chevron Road. So you're doing like Christopher Columbus and probably heading west with the intention of ending up east.
So a 1 ton waste of taxpayers' dollars on this particular project, and Kwesi, you know, I listened to the Secretary of Settlements yesterday at a grand distribution in desperation, trying to make a case about central government not giving enough money to build houses. But I distinctly remember when he was asked the question in the House, when he said that he was going to deliver 1,000 homes to Tobagonians, and I think it was the minority councillor would have asked him, okay, let's justify how you're going to get there. He said, watch me work.
Watch me work.
And here we are today again.
Well, I guess that's him at work.
He even spoke to his trips to St. Vincent and Jamaica to see homes and how they are built and so on. And here we are still almost 3 years into his tenure, and 1 3/4 house has been built. One that was assigned to the lady that was blind, and we are still awaiting the 30-day project that began in March in Bleming, that the back door had to be put in after the fact. So we see definitely no direction, 1 ton spending. I want to raise another issue for us here in Tobago to remember, and the issue that we are looking at and hearing is the narrative about funds not being available. Let me remind us of the Office of the Deputy Chief Secretary. The Office of the Deputy Chief Secretary, which after just over 2 years in existence, having achieved absolutely no objectives, and after a spend of close to $13 million, was then casually shut down by the Chief Secretary after it failed under Watson Duke, and it was handed over to the now Deputy Chief Secretary, and it failed under her watch as well. Most notable issue being $2 million almost in rent of a building in Trinidad that was never occupied by any individual. No work was ever done in that building. That was supposed to be an extension of the Office of the Deputy Chief Secretary. I think they say it was some embassy, Tobago Embassy.
The Embassy of Tobago.
Of Tobago. And almost 13 million spent in the Office of the Deputy Chief Secretary, and nothing delivered to the people of Tobago.
and let me tell you, Marilyn, I mean, because the travesty goes further, wider and deeper. Because the staff we had grand plans for the staff, diaspora relations and whatever, and we're yet to see anything come out of that in terms of foreign direct investment in Tobago. But, you know, it's really sad when, as you said, there was a complete shutdown of the operations because they recognized that it was a failure. And the fact as well, because this administration loves pomp and ceremony. As a matter of fact, I was at a function recently, and a particular secretary spoke about how important appearances are. You like how things look. We like things to look nice. No problem. Feel free. That's what you like. That's what you like. But the fact that Mandate Monday came to a screeching halt.
Yes.
Came to a screeching halt. It means that they recognize that they have been unable to deliver on a single mandate, on a single item on the mandate. And in the realization that they are abject failures, shelved the program. And then we got what was beneath the surface, I think it was.
Yeah, beneath the surface.
And now we have
then
116.
We had non-disclosure or something like that.
So a full disclosure.
Full disclosure.
Yeah. And again, it shows that in terms of fulfilling the mandate that was given to the PDP, by the way, not the TPP, that was given to the PDP, that these assemblymen were under the banner singing and praising and swearing that they're here for the long haul and for the next 20 years, PDP going to be in power. It didn't last as long as the Red House fire. Just like the mandate Monday and the fact that they have recognized that their inexperience, and I heard even the Secretary of Infrastructure come on this very station and admit that sometimes when you're outside they could say things, but when you get inside, it's a different story. And so hearing the Secretary, I mean, I didn't hear it myself, but hearing that the Secretary responsibility for settlements is coming out to complain and find an excuse after he was boasting and bragging about watching him work. The reality is, you know, I remember Christmas, love Christmas time growing up. And my mother, great big Christmas person. And she used to have these lists, like a shopping list, a grocery list, and a market list, and then she used to hide the gift list. But what she used to always see is one version of the list, and then another version of the list. And as she recognized her budgetary limitations, she prioritized.
Correct.
And then we were still able to have a Merry Christmas. We didn't get all the things she initially planned, but at least we got a Merry Christmas and we were able to get some things. And what you are seeing here is a lack of priority, a lack of strategic focus because of the inexperience and inability of the administration to manage the affairs of Tobago. And the reality is, it is not an easy job, Marilyn. Having sat in the seat, as you said, it is a job that required sleepless nights. It's a job that required pushing public servants to perform at their best. It's a job that required listening and learning. And of course, it's a job that required honesty and integrity. And we're not seeing any of the things that I just listed because they are more focused on flying here, there, and everywhere. They are more focused on the VIPs and what benefits they can get, their per diems. They're more focused on that. They are more focused on sending home over 200 people. They're more concerned about emasculating and embarrassing the public servants than they are about the genuine development of the island of Tobago. And I know, and you know, sometimes you say, I listen to that old man say, there's a difference between what you believe and what you know. He say, belief is when you don't know. And he said, I know that I'm a man, I know that this is my name and so on. You could believe certain things, I could believe that. But he said, when you know, it's a difference.
It's a difference.
I know that many public servants are experiencing so much professional disrespect, and some of them are willing to overlook the personal part because they're so professional. They don't even. I don't need you to like me, but the professional disrespect that they cannot wait to see the back of this administration because they cannot stand the fact, one, that they're being disrespected, disregarded in that way, and two, that Tobago is going into the doldrums in the way that it is. And when you look at the stage in the sea, when you look at the...
Actually, we're getting to those.
When you combine the expenditure on those vanity fly-by-night projects, because that's what they were. Initially, the stage in the sea, Maryland, the idea was that the masqueraders will chip past and the ocean will be in the background. And then they recognize that, hold on, that's not how it's going to be. And you see that they barricaded off and they have to hide the very sea. And now we just have a grand parking space and tuning spot that cost us well over $1 million.
$1.75 million.
Close to $2 million. When in fact, we have students at university who cannot get their monies paid. When we have so many needs in the schools right now, in terms of repairs of toilets and basic things that principals are still complaining bitterly about. And you see, that's the stage you see blocked off.
Yeah.
And we recognize that these are vanity projects that made and continue to make absolutely no sense other than to probably fill somebody's pockets up.
I want to highlight, there are two other projects I definitely want to raise, because I need for us to remember here in Tobago that this occurred. Argyle to Roxborough, Bloody Bay Road. I wouldn't call the name of the contractor, but that project was to the tune of $25,872.88. We also saw the Milford Road to Pigeon Point connecting through Milford Court, the Bonacourt development, at a whopping cost of $54,781,000. What is the status of these projects?
And mind you, you're forgetting some very important parts, Maryland. And shame on you for that.
Well, that's why I have you here.
Because these projects, if you recall, were emergency
works.
Emergency works, according to the Chief Secretary. That was his justification to the people of Tobago that we are procuring these services because it's an emergency. Because we have traffic and we have Carnival coming up in 2022. We are now approaching Carnival 2024. And the roads that, I remember when political leader Ansel Dennis said, well, it's impossible to get it done. Again, the same watch me work attitude. You know, he don't know anything about roads. You know, he was cast aside. And now we are seeing here, and again, this is over $100 million that we're looking at. And mind you, these projects to be completed by people that had no prior experience in the construction of roads. But of course, they could say that they have experience now. So just like when you had your first job, Maryland, you could put it on they can put on their resume. I'm not sure how much work they will get because of it, that they did road works in Tobago.
But that's the interesting thing, Kwesi. Can they? Because the Argyle Road is yet to be completed. I don't know if you saw the road in Milford Road.
Well, I heard that the contractor's home in Milford Court area is being built up at a rapid pace.
Wow.
And that's the information I got. I don't know.
So none of these projects, save and except the 19-day project, the $1 million a day project at Smithfield Dutch Fort Connector Road, save and except that one that was completed in record time, just as the contract was issued in record time. None of these other projects have to date been completed.
The emergency projects.
The emergency projects. Yes. And Tobago, where is the funds? Because these contractors have been paid. Information coming to hand.
Paid handsomely as well. Handsomely, as they say.
So here it is. We have no accountability for any of these particular projects. King Peter's Bay Road project, $25 million.
And you know, the sad thing about that project, Maryland, I remember it's a project that actually we started. We did the work, got all of these surveys done. So thank goodness we did the work. Got these surveys done, got the designs done, mobilized the contractor. The contractor who had worked in the area previously, actually with that large retaining wall where we used we didn't use mass concrete, we used a different system, and we were going to use that system on the road to give it a better shelf life and as well to take away, mitigate some of the challenges that concrete may have had on a project. So we did all of the groundwork to get the project done. They demobilized the contractor, sent them off, and put their buddy there, their good friend there. and now they're boasting about it. A car turned over because the road was not built to specification. And they just came and they didn't go according to the plan, because of course it was not going to be mass concrete. It was an alternative system to mass concrete, so that we would have gotten a more durable and safe road. But, you know, suffer it to be so. I'm happy that the people of Bay Hill and Mariah and King Peter Bay Mariah have a road. Needless to say, it did not have to go down to that cost and that particular design. They could have gone with the original contractor and work with him, because he actually has a record of doing work. And I know that they engage him afterwards because they recognize the work to be done. But the fact is, again, Maryland, you moved away somebody and just brought in someone fly by night all of a sudden. No process at all to get this done. And so it's sad that we have had over 100, and none of these contractors, it was the people of King Peter Bay Road almost had to go crazy to get work on the project. Because whereas they were engaged heavily before, they were not engaged very much on that road. And it's the same thing happened with the Smithfield Connector.
Yeah.
Same thing happened with the Friendship
the roundabout.
The roundabout. All of these things, we're not getting Tobago content. We're not getting, and Tobagonians are becoming nothing more, based on the operations of this administration, nothing more than jaws of water and hewers of wood in our own land. And that's what we have been demoted to in Tobago.
As we wrap up, because again, time is definitely always ahead of us. The one final thing, and I'm saying this coming out of the conversation with, again, the secretary talking about wanting more and wanting more and wanting more. We have an opportunity right now to come together and support two bills that have been laid in the Parliament that are soon to be debated. Those are the bills for greater autonomy, self-governance for Tobago. And we are hearing the secretary, the chief secretary, the secretary of finance talking about more and more and more. But there is a bill where you can come together and support, where Tobago's minimum would be 6.8% of the national budget. We're going to go a little more into that next week, to be able to connect it and make sense to the people of Tobago with what we've been seeing taking place and the smoke screen that these people are trying to create, and what is practical and on the table for discussion. Your closing thoughts on that?
Very quickly, and we hear time and time again, no ministry, no municipality, no city corporation got what they wanted. We have an opportunity to almost strong arm the Parliament by saying no less than 6.8%. And on top of that, there's the Fiscal Review Committee that actually is going to assess Tobago on a year-on-year basis to see if we are if the 6.8 is too little to meet the needs, the developmental needs of Tobago. So we have the potential actually to get two bites of the cherry in that one bill. So you get no less than 6.8%, which is more than we got this time of the budget. And also have the FRC, which will be reviewing the fiscal situation and the developmental situation in Tobago to make recommendations to the next budget to say, you know what, Tobago needs to go up to 7%, Tobago needs to go up to 8%. And that report actually has to be published. So you're seeing now that Tobagonians, by law, if this bill is passed, have a fantastic opportunity to be afforded more fiscal resources. And I must say that the last time that I went to Parliament, the opposition used a document signed by the Chief Secretary, now Chief Secretary, and former Chief Secretary Hochoi Charles. But they used that document to jettison the bill at the point in time, and there was a stalemate at the point in time. And so now we have an opportunity to say the same way, Farley, that you wrote to the Parliament previously to ask them not to support the bill. I pray that you write the same way and ask them to support on this occasion. Let's move the needle forward. And if it is we have to go and say, all right, we're going again and start the process over, let's start over from the point of having already secured 6.8%, let's now start the conversation over. Let's secure the 6.8%. Let's secure the lawmaking power. Let's secure the FRC. Let's secure all of those goodies that await Tobagonians in the internal self-government bill and the constitutional amendment bill. Let your friends in the opposition support the bills.
Yeah. And I want to close with a statement that would have been made by our now dearly departed Miss Alfred at the last meeting when you did the presentation. It may not be perfect, and when you get it, it would seem like a lot. But when you begin to live through it and work through it, you may realize 10 years down the road that we have to come back to the table and renegotiate, just as would have been done in the past. And so we are calling on the Chief Secretary to do what is necessary. You would have used this as one of the pillars of your campaign when you were a member of the PDP to get into office, fooling Tobagonians into believing that you were going to champion the cause for autonomy. But what we see now is only excuses. And so we're going to be calling on you to use the same pen to write to your friends so that they will support the bill. And next week when we come back to this particular forum, we are going to be also looking at the private members' motion that the minority leader is going to be laying in the House for debate, which again is going to be directly down the line of leading the conversation on the greater autonomy for Tobago. Folks, I want to thank you for staying logged on with us. I want to thank Kwesi for coming through and again meaningful contributions, a wealth of information so that we can all be equipped with the necessary facts that we need to make informed decisions. I'm Marilyn David, your host, saying good night. Stay blessed, keep prayed up, and we're going to look forward to seeing you guys next week, Tuesday. Good night.